Hey everybody, this is the pregame show. We go live at the top of the hour in about 5 minutes. The video will be live. If you're joining us after the top of the hour, make sure you head over to where the play and pause button and volume control is, and you will see an option to click a live button, and you can make sure you're up to date and live with us. So, welcome to the show. We'll get started in just a minute. Alright everybody, this is our little before the show, so we're going to give everybody a minute to get in here for the live show. So if you ask us any questions now, it'll get deleted later. We delete this off of the video from YouTube and it doesn't make the podcast. So this is just our pre-show behind the scenes meet and greet. So
that's not necessarily true, because if you ask us any questions now, I'm going to pull it. I'm going to put it in the chat or in your chat, and it's actually going to get answered later is what's going to happen.
I should say, if I answer any questions right now, it would get deleted.
I'm not going to let you answer any questions right now. We're not running the show right now.
She manages me so well.
He's so manageable.
Alright, I won't be able to recognize everybody personally, but we've got Pamela here, and Vina, and Simply Circus. That sounds like our house. Edward, and Green Gables Homestead, Dolphin Man. And I'm sure I'm already missing people because the chat just keeps on scrolling. T. Teresa, Weetree's here. Hey, Weetree. Sophie, Suburban Hillbilly. Goodness, now you're going to make me start saying names wrong. I'm just going to go with Bassett.
All you got to do is keep saying, it's not my monkeys, it's not my circus, until you realize it is your monkeys and it is your circus.
And it all goes downhill from there. All right.
We run a 3-ring around here.
Jawton. D. Welsh, Sherry.
I'm just going to say hi, everyone. I know you're there. You know I'm here.
We'll get to the actual live show here in just a few minutes. I appreciate everybody coming in. As you come in the door, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. All your wonderful comments will disappear from YouTube when we close the live programming, but your thumbs up will stick around. So please make sure you hit it.
Also keep in mind that if you're going to ask any questions, please make sure the questions are in all caps so that I can grab the questions. If it is not a question, don't put it in all caps, please.
You distract her. She's got work to do. All right.
I'm so distractible.
Jawton. Okay.
Jaton. There you go.
I don't even know how to say my own name sometimes, so please don't be offended.
There are so many different ways, and I didn't know to spell Jared until other people started misspelling your name.
I respond to a lot of things, and some of them aren't very nice. But yeah, even without trying to say the name in a different way, just saying Jared can be spelled different ways. And you have the Gerards with the OD. Anyway.
It drives me nuts.
This coming from a lady who has...
Sherry, actually, I do read most of the questions as they scroll by. It's just I don't always comment on them because I try not to comment on anything that is not pertinent to what we're currently talking to, and I definitely try not to interrupt the the ringleader.
Boy, we just keep with the circus references, don't we?
You started it.
All right. Okay, folks, I am showing 8 o'clock. So what we are going to do is put the splash screen back up and go silent for about 10 seconds, and we'll come right back and start the show.
I'm going to grab my fidget.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Oh, my fidget.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sunday Slowdown at J&J Acres. If this is your first time finding our live show and you're wondering what this is all about, we are a homesteading family. We have 5 children, we live on 7 acres, and we do our best to try to live off the land. No, we're not off-grid. No, we are not eating all of our food solely off of our property, but we're trying, and we like learning how to do things, and we like sharing what we learn with all of you and just bringing you around for the journey like you're our next door neighbors and just talking to you about what's going on this week. So if that is something that interests you, we are part of a larger network of very similar channels. Head over to thehomesteadnetwork.com, and there you can look at the show times and list all of the different YouTube channels that are participating, and you can watch similar homesteading, gardening, prepping type information throughout the entire week at many different times during the week. So make sure you check out thehomesteadnetwork.com. So as far as our show, our typical agenda consists of telling you what has happened over the last week, reviewing the videos that came out, and answering any questions you might have for follow-ups about what was in those videos. And then we just start taking questions and answers and telling you about what projects we're looking forward to doing for the rest of the week. So,
what do we have lined up today, Mr. Stanley?
I have almost nothing lined up today.
Nothing.
Most of you have become quite accustomed to the picture show, and the picture show lately has included a video program. But it has been unseasonably hot here, and almost none of the animals are moving around, so I really have nothing to show you on that front today. I hope they... Please don't leave. Alright, so... first off, have you all noticed last week we added a 3rd candle to our setup here? I don't know if there'll be a point where we have so many candles that it gets ridiculous, but I like having the candles. It's a nice little ambiance. But
maybe later on in the season, if it actually drops down a little bit, we can light the fireplace for them.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to see it. I don't know how we would set things up so they can see the fire with us, but...
Well, if you scoot it a little bit that way, and I'm
maybe so.
Off enough this way, maybe they might be able to see it.
Alright, so let's talk about what videos you folks have seen earlier in the week. Surely, you're not just here for the live show. Surely, you are subscribed to our channel and watching the videos that come out.
I sure hope so.
I think last week was a bit of a slow week. We only had 2 new videos for you, and I think there's something interesting here to say about this. Many of you know that a couple years ago I went through a permaculture certification course, and one of the things that I really took away and appreciated from that course was the discussion about edges. There really is a lot to be said about the amount of life and activity that takes place on edges. Mm-hmm. And so from the small example of, if you ever had a walking path, a stone walking path, and you try to keep the area around the stone weeded and clear, there's something about that edge where life wants to grow. And there's a reason for it. There's explanations for it, so you help you understand it. But the edge, and then in a bigger scale, maybe on your own property you can see this, the edge between the field and the forest. where the wildlife in the woods comes out to the edge, and where the ecosystem that's in part of the field, the bugs and all that good stuff, it's just more life right there at the edge. And I was thinking about that when I was thinking about tonight's show, and how we only had a couple videos come out, and how we're right on that edge of a season.
Wild edibles are usually found on the edge of the field and the forest.
Yeah.
Like blackberries and such.
Mm-hmm. And I think here at the edge of a season, we just had this really busy time where we were putting out about 4 videos a week. Mm-hmm. Things were being harvested, and those things that were being harvested, we were preparing them, or we were storing them, or whatever. And it was this big busy time.
It was a doorway.
Yeah, to get from one to another. And so with that, now we have, it's not really, it doesn't even feel like fall yet. I mean, it's a bit chilly, but it got so warm this last week, it's hard to even feel like it's autumn.
It tries to drop down at night. It's been trying to drop down into the 60s and 50s at night. Last night it felt good. It dropped down below 50 last night. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's been pretty warm during the day, and
mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but anyway, I just thought it was interesting, because now being somebody who puts videos out on YouTube, I have to think to myself, okay, what am I going to do this week? What kind of projects are coming up next week? And the winter for me becomes a bit of a struggle to not get into something that is mundane and repetitive. You know, there's, in my opinion, there's only so much clearing, saplings out of the woods and mulching that I could show on YouTube. I mean, it gets to a point where I don't even want to put it on YouTube because I've done it enough, and it's just like, I just need to get the work done. Shortly, if I'm tired of filming it, y'all are tired of watching it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think about, where can we develop this? And there's plenty of things that still need to be talked about. The container garden, the green stock tower garden that we're doing on the back step that I showed you guys got replanted is doing really well.
Yes, it is.
With any luck, maybe we're supposed to, and I'm almost tempting fate by even mentioning this out loud. We're supposed to actually get a good soaking rain sometime like Tuesday time frame.
That'd be nice.
So if that happens, maybe I can get some filming done after the soaking rain and show you, as the plants are really starting to pick back up. They've been getting watered. I've been doing it about every other day. But so that's one thing that we could update you on with that. And many of the things that are in there will grow through most of our winter. Mm-hmm. So that should be fun. But anyway, I'm just kind of getting off topic, and need to talk to you about what we have spoken about on YouTube this week, and I can tell you about all the other projects as we go forward. But that like you say, a doorway or the edge, that transitional period, it seems to always be busy.
Yeah. And we're starting to leave that doorway area right now.
Yeah, seasonally. All right, so one video that you saw was the animals in the deer field, and something about that video, it really took off. I have an unusual number of views for it having only been out for 3 days. For my channel. There's other channels that certainly get a lot more views in 5 minutes than what mine do get in 3 days. But for mine, this is running above average. And you guys saw the less edited version of this last week during the live show. And it got a lot of attention when it went out on YouTube. And I think that I want to do a night edition and show the nocturnal animals that are coming out to the field. Show what kind of activities happening at night. Now,
that'd be a good idea.
I don't have any new footage because of how warm it has been. Over the last week, there was one doe on camera one day. That's it. Now, I've had a lot of feedback on YouTube, on Reddit, and on Facebook, where people said they just laughed out loud dying in that video where I said I should have been a dove hunter. and then it comes up and there's just all these dove lined up on 2 different rows and whatever else.
Yeah.
I had a lot more video of that. I think I really do need to take up dove hunting.
Yeah.
But anyway,
get some going in the rotisserie.
Maybe so. I don't know. To me, maybe you guys can share. And can I ask them to break the all caps rules?
I suppose it's
Okay.
going to make it harder for me.
Well, but I want them to give me some feedback. And so,
well, feedback is good.
All right. So I want you to, if you have an answer to this question, I want you to put it in all caps so we can share it with the group here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I think about hunting, I think about big game. I want to take down a deer because I want the amount of meat that is involved. I want to harvest one animal and get a big reward. When I see my deer field have 12 dove in it at a time, it makes me think, well, that's an opportunity. I'm being given the opportunity to harvest food for my family. All I got to do is go sit out in that field. I've got a 12 gauge. I've got bird shot. I could go out there and harvest some dove. But it makes me think about, do I really want to process that many dove? For what it is going to reward me? So the question is it really worth the reward? To go out there and hunt a dozen dove, is it really worth the reciprocation? There's a word I'm looking for and I can't find it, but is it worth that effort? So
we're getting a lot of responses already. Simply Circus says we hunt almost anything. Dove is delicious. You just need a lot of dove for a meal. They're very low meat. Get your family involved in the processing. It's delicious eating though.
Okay. So it tastes good, but it's not like putting a ham in the oven,
Right.
I see somebody else mentions meat is meat, and if I were on my own,
depends on how hungry you are.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Palmento. If I were on my own and I needed to eat, then I would hunt the dove.
Right.
But if I'm thinking about putting up a meal
for 7 people,
yeah, I mean, we don't eat a ton of meat.
No.
One pound of hamburger, so to speak, will get us through an entire meal. We don't eat a ton of meat.
Deep South says you'd ruin the hunting spot and spook the deer by shooting.
Well, but I mean, that's going to happen when I shoot the first deer.
That's true.
So
it takes a lot of dove to feed 7 people.
Yeah. So probably not worth it then. I guess that's the general consensus that I'm seeing here is that, feed 7 people. I'm going to need a lot of dove, put in a lot of work to processing them. And
maybe if we could figure out a way to catch them instead of...
I don't know. I never heard of a live trap for a dove or something like that. And then also the possibility of fouling our green field, because that is the only place that I have on my property to hunt, which is a big blessing here in Mississippi. If you own the land, you can do just about anything so long as you follow the conservation guidelines on legal hunting. I don't have to go take safety classes or pay for hunting licenses or all that kind of stuff because it's my land. So if I certainly don't want, I'm doing everything I can to make sure the deer come to this spot. So if this could be something, going out there taking pot shots at dove is going to scare them off, I wouldn't want to do that.
Simply Circus has 7 people in their family. Says for their family they usually take about 9 deer to last almost a year, but they usually stick to deer, turkey, rabbit, and squirrel. Now we've seen rabbit, squirrel, and deer. We've seen coon.
You see, but the part of the difficulty I have in having this conversation is I see a lot of deer. I think if I were to, on proportion, I would say I see a lot of deer.
Yes.
I have never seen a turkey on our property. We've seen it nearby.
I beg to differ.
We raised some turkeys. We've never seen wild turkey walk onto our property.
Well, when we were raising that one wild turkey, we could hear it calling to other turkey. And it got loose and disappeared. So it went somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we know we could hear the other turkey.
Right.
So we know there's turkey nearby. We've just never seen them.
Well, and this kind of goes towards the green field. I need to do a better job of managing that food plot through the summer.
Yeah.
Because normally I let it go wild during the summer, which for us means blackberries. And so I got to go out there and cut everything down and get it seeded back over. And I usually just seed it with things that I don't have to worry about tilling in, like clover and most things like radishes will just take right to it
It's
as well.
really nice if we could make the whole thing a field, but there's a lot of trees back there.
Well, there is, but I think if maybe we could get it to be a kind of field where we could get turkey interested in it during the spring and summer too. Maybe we could get turkeys over. But
Yeah.
anyway, so then the next thing you said squirrel. At one time, sitting up in a ladder stand, I saw 5 squirrel at one time down in the field. Now I don't know if that's a lot of squirrel, but what I think to myself is if I shoot even 3 squirrel, that's not a meal. And
It would be if it's a stew.
I just shot 3 of the only 5 squirrel I've ever seen at one time. You know, and I don't know if the population will come back. I don't know. I don't know about the animals. I don't know if they're territorial and next 2 days later some others move over and I still have 5 or what. But,
I know well about squirrel, and they would take over the territory.
okay. Well, maybe it's worth it. I don't know. We've certainly had a lot of commentary going on. I saw something I wanted to mention, if I can find it again here. Deep South was saying we can hunt for free in Mississippi if you own the land. Yeah, that's the best thing. I couldn't believe it. We had considered, when Jennifer and I are done raising our children, when they are all moved out, we are still very much on the fence about whether or not we want to stay in Mississippi because this is the land we've worked on so hard, or whether we want to move to a climate that we're much more happier with. I mean, neither one of us like the climate in Mississippi. We don't like the humidity. The pollen kicks her butt, makes her have to take all sorts of different medicines that she'd rather not have to take, and
kicking
all
my
those
butt
kind
right
of things.
now.
Yeah.
Half the reason why I'm constantly rubbing my face is because of the pollen.
Yeah. So anyway, but then looking at other places, you start realizing just how much freedom you actually have in a place. I mean, everything from whether I just want to build a smokehouse out back and whether or not I have to have a building permit for something as simple as that, or whether I want to go hunt a deer that lives on my own property. And so there's a lot of things that you really try to take into account, and it's not as simple as you
We've
might
even talked
think.
about moving up to Canada or Alaska and found out that even if we moved to Alaska, we could not drive our stuff through Canada to Alaska and take our weapons with us.
Yeah, there might be some funky way
Caveat.
of getting it done, but just looking at Canada's regulations on their website, the
Yeah.
surface of it makes it seem like no
Yeah.
is the answer.
Exactly.
But anyway,
There's just so many restrictions in so many different places.
yeah. All right, so so it was kind of fun to see the animals in the deer field. I did get a nice video of some male cardinals this week. And I did get, well, let me show you. What the heck? Why not?
Tim says they would have to be shipped.
Yeah. Okay. Mama, can you look and tell us if there was any other comments or questions while I try to add in a video here for us to watch?
There were comments just simply about how the dove were probably too small to worry about. Squirrel are good eating, and they will nest in trees in the fall and breed in the spring. Other than that, most of them, you can ship your guns to yourself via FedEx or UPS.
Okay. All right, so since we're talking about the YouTube video last week that was about the animals in the deer field, I'm going to bring up a video. There's nothing real spectacular to show you guys, which is why I didn't preload this in here, but Here is a video of a couple male cardinals. There's a couple female ones too, if you can make them out. But it's just nice. I mean, that camera is about 3 feet from that bird, and I never get that close to them in real life, so it's kind of neat to sit there and be able to see the wildlife that close. Now, this is the first video you've ever seen with the livestock tank off to the right there. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in a few minutes. But anyway, that's what's going on there. So, pretty cardinals. It's nice to see cardinals. I know I put my heart on my sleeve about a month ago or so when I told you guys about my mom passing away 6 years ago. And it's nice for me to see cardinals out there because that was my mom's favorite bird. Of course, her favorite color was red, so it kind of goes hand in hand. And there's the squirrel. They always got to be in the shot somewhere, I tell you. I don't know what it is about them. Alright, so now let me bring up the only other video that I thought was worth keeping from video this week. And again, it's really nothing to write home about, but it was the only time I saw a deer in the field at all. And so here we are with the doe, and she does nothing. She walks around and eats. She never goes up to any of the salt blocks.
It's too hot.
Yeah, so I never get to see if she has a preference in a salt block. My trial continues, and it is trying me. But anyway, she goes off camera there. She'll come back around in a few minutes, but I'm not going to watch it that long. I just thought it'd be
There's
interesting to show
another
you.
possibility that we didn't consider. In moving the water tank up there, you had a lot of tractor activity, and you've had a lot of tractor activity up there for the past 2 weeks trying to keep that filled and keep that plot watered. You might be scaring off our...
That is true, but let's also notice that this was yesterday at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
So Jennifer's talking about the watering that we're trying to do up there. We're trying to keep the ground wet. We're trying to provide water to the animals, but in doing that, there's been a lot of activity driving the tractor up there, like she says, and that could very easily be spooking them off. In fact, this doe must be quite hungry, I would presume. Most people would tell you just plain foolish to go put something else new out in your deer field after you've already established it, but we went and put that stock tank out there, and she came back. So anyway, that was it. That's all she did. How fun was that? So that's why I wasn't really planning on showing
6
you
feet
much.
won't stop a deer. A wee tree.
6 feet? What did I miss? I don't understand the reference. Somebody noticed that there was another deer way back. It's back to the right, and I don't see it in the frame right this second. But where she's standing while I'm talking, which is the last frame, it's not. I told it not to loop. Would have been back behind her hindquarters, and you saw her walk out of frame, and then you saw another deer back there. But it really couldn't have been her with the way it went around.
Tim says he saw Bigfoot in the woods.
Oh yeah, a 6-foot fence is what they were talking about. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. That's something we want to think about doing, is improving our border fence. Let me bring that up really quick. So you see where she's standing. Let's see, I don't have any control over the time on this, so I'm afraid I can't go forward or backward in this program. Right behind the row of trees that are behind her, about 15 feet, is where our property line is, and there is a 5 or 6 strand barbed wire fence there that our neighbor put up long before we ever purchased this property, and he has cattle that graze on his land. And he doesn't live on that land. All he does is have cattle on it and sells off the calves in spring, kind of thing. It's just his little side hobby. But most of the time, when I get to see the deer come into the field, maybe 75% of the time, I'll see them come from the back left area, so kind of 11 o'clock from the white salt block. And that area, it starts to go downhill into a bottom where there is a seasonal creek if we get a good rain and all that kind of stuff, and works its way eventually about 1.5 miles down to a lake. So, but anyway, you mentioned the fencing. That is something I had thought about in the past. Was, if we ever do get another horse, what kind of fencing do I want to put up to make sure that I'm not discouraging the deer from going to that area? So, all right. So, second video. Let's move on. Second video we had for the week. I titled it "Desperate Times Call for Desperate Measures," and I'll be changing that title over to something more specific, like how to trap small hive beetles, or trapping small hive beetles, or something like that. But that was the moral of the story, was the steps we're trying to take to stop the small hive beetles. So I mentioned in that video that we had shot an entirely different video, and it was just too depressing that I decided not even to edit it and publish it. And it was basically us discovering that despite all the efforts of us taking the hive from 2 deeps and a medium all the way down to a nuke, that we still had small hive beetles in there.
A lot of them.
A lot of them. From the size of them, it looked like they had just had a couple hatchings, because there were a couple full-grown ones and a couple very small ones. I say a couple. That was the plethora, was the small ones. Mm-hmm. So they were confined to 2 different frames that we could tell. We took those frames out. We replaced them with 2 other frames that we had in storage, and immediately went out and purchased everything that you saw in that video. The Brawny Dynamax towels, and the oil trap, the oil that goes in it, and also the pollen feeder and the pollen replacement. So it's just kind of like all hands on deck. I mean, we're trying every single thing we can to not lose this colony, but have the possibility and realization that we just might, because things are not improving quick enough and the temperatures are going down, and there we go. So somebody had asked, how are the bees? We have not checked in on them again this week. There is there is a queen cell in there, and I want to make sure that I don't disrupt that process. I saw the queen cell, and that's good enough for me now. So I want to give it a little while, and really what I'm doing is watching the weather. I don't want it to go too long before it gets too cold, and now I don't want to crack the hive at all.
Black Mesa Homestead would like to know if we've tried powdered sugar. I'm not even sure what the powdered sugar would be for, other than mites, I thought.
Well, okay, so you're talking about coating the bees in sugar
to be able to see the mites.
And the bees clean themselves and get the mites off and all that kind of stuff. I think what they might be talking about is using granular or powdered sugar as a feed source for the bees. So they even make special trays for them where you can put it in the top of the, basically your top box on the beehive is a tray. Even an inner cover for a Langstrom hive is deep enough where you can put granular sugar around the outside edges, and then the bees can come through that top hole, and they take the sugar and they convert it into a honey. Now, the first year we had the bees, we were going through doing everything that we were told to do by our local Beekeepers Association.
And we used sugar.
And they were very much keen on using sugar, to the point where they had a little, what amounts to
sugar shack.
A sugar shack. They had a garage sized area that they had at one point paid bulk money for, to have it just basically filled with granular sugar, and then members would come and pay a few bucks a bucket for this sugar and take it home to their bees.
He was referencing the way to for the mites.
Oh, okay.
But we're not having a mite problem. We're having a hive beetle problem. So
Yeah. So yeah, we're talking. I think we're talking about two different things. We have seen very few varroa mites in the past. Right now, what we're seeing a problem with is a small hive beetle, the little black beetle that's about the size of a quilting pinhead. So
big enough that we can squish the adults if we can catch them.
yeah, they're fast little boogers though. So anyway, so what we did is we put in these Dynamax towels. Now, what these towels are, they're basically like a souped-up paper towel. That's
Yeah.
they're just a higher quality paper towel, and they're marketed for the restaurant industry so that you can have your bucket of cleaning solution go around, wipe down 100 tables before you need to get another towel, kind of thing, but it still be disposable. But the nice thing about these towels are because of how they are made, the fiber can be fluffed up, and the size of the beetle, when they crawl across that fluffed up area, their legs get tangled up in it, and again, when they get tangled up in it, they die. And there's a lot of different methods, or a couple different ways that people have done this in the past. People have used dryer sheets. Now, I couldn't find anything scientific about why not to use dryer sheets, but just the fact of what dryer sheets are tells me I'm putting chemicals into the hive, and that's something I want to avoid.
Yeah.
So dryer sheets were out. Another option was, if you've ever seen those vinyl tablecloths, the backside of the vinyl tablecloths have a fuzzy kind of felt-like material, and people have used that before. They'll take a tablecloth that they're done with, like a seasonal tablecloth, and they're going to dispose of it, and they'll cut off a section of it and use that.
That doesn't seem quite as replaceable.
Yeah. So we went with these towels, and you'll notice in the video, the one that was on the IPM board that goes under the screen bottom board, I roughed that up myself. Okay, so I roughed that up using a hard nylon brush, and then I put it under there so when the mites fall through the screen bottom board, they'll get caught in there and they can't fly back up into the hive. The other ones, the bees themselves will fluff up. The bees will want to try to clean the hive, and so they'll tug and pull at it, and they will fluff it up, and then the beetles will get caught in it. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. Let them do the work. And then the other one went specifically on top of the oil trap, and the benefit for that is the beetles want to try to run and get away from the bees. So if they go under the towel, then they'll more likely find the trap and get into the trap. And if they don't, if they're dumb enough to go across the top, well, they still get tangled up, and I still catch them anyway. So,
Garden Channel would like to know, can you use batting?
I'm not familiar with batting.
I think it is like sewing batting.
Can you describe batting to me in another way? It seems familiar, and like I just can't place it.
Yeah.
If you can describe that in a different way, maybe I can answer your question. So anyway, that's where things are. More explanation about the video, but we haven't actually gone in and checked on the hive again. The pollen that we're using is from Mann Lake. Anybody keeping bees is likely familiar with Mann Lake, and it's
for quilting.
It's their Ultra Bee, which I actually didn't mean to buy that. I thought that was the only powder they had on their website, and then I came to find out there was one that was like 2/3 or a third less expensive, so I felt really stupid for buying the expensive stuff. But it's a pollen replacer. So in the video, when I re-watched it later, I realized I made it sound like my bees were going to eat pollen all winter, and that's not how that works. What we are going to use is their own honey. That's step one. We have a harvest that we did back in spring. We don't have very much, but if we can use their own honey, then that's step number one. If we absolutely had to, is the only way we're going to keep this colony alive, and it looks like if we were to feed them syrup, that we could keep them alive, then I might be willing to feed them syrup again. If I can't find another local sourced honey and buy someone else's honey from 30 miles away and feed that to my bees, but I would really rather stay away from the granulated sugars. And I read, I don't know enough about it to speak competently about it, but I read somewhere where somebody explained the differences between the sugars in refined granulated sugar and the sugars in honey, or in nectar rather, and why the quote-unquote honey made from sugar syrup is not the same as the honey made from nectar. But anyway, you might, if you're interested in keeping bees, or you have questions about that yourself, look into it. Apparently there is a difference between that, about that about the sugars in there. So quilting batting. Okay, so basically the filling, is that another way of saying it? The filling that goes in the quilt?
Yeah, the stuff in the middle layer of a quilt.
Oh, okay, yeah. Thank you, Suburban. See, that's what I needed. I needed it written in Crayola so I could understand it. I don't know if you could. I understand where you're going with this, because I would suspect, not being a quilter, I would suspect that there are different thicknesses of batting. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I would suspect that there's very thin stuff, and I would suspect that there's very thick stuff. And if that's true, I would be interested in seeing it before I personally recommended it. But I would think that very thin stuff would be where I would gravitate towards.
Well, Castle Dove uses medical grade cotton. The kind wrapped in the blue paper was taught to him by his grandfather.
Okay.
So I would assume that quilting batting would be basically the same thing.
Yeah. Well, what we're looking for is, we want to make sure that the bees have a high chance of being able to get out of it, but not the beetles. So
right.
we're trying to find that middle ground. There's one video on YouTube where somebody did it with dryer sheets, and even the dryer sheet got so fuzzy that he managed to catch a couple bees, like maybe 3 or 4 bees to 100 beetles. So the ratio worked out in his favor. But we want to make sure that we don't
catch beetles or
catch bees.
Catch bees.
Yeah. So. All right. Where are we at?
Let's see. If you are done talking about bees.
I think I am. My intention is, I told you that there's going to be a soaking rain coming up. If I can get in the hive the day after that, that's when I'm going to try to do it, because that should be long enough that I would have expected for the queen cell to hatch.
Okay.
So that's if I go in there, that's all the video. That's all I'm really looking for. I'm going to lift that frame, see if the queen cell is still there, if it's hatched or what, and put her back down and let them keep going back to work. So.
Right. Just see whether or not we even have a queen at this point.
Yeah. Because if we don't have a queen, then the hive's just going to starve out and we're done. But.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. But I did mention in the video we do have another hive. I've mentioned before in several other videos that I want to go to mediums throughout the entire hive. Medium, deep. I don't know how the right way to say that is, because I just said deep and that's a different size. But medium hive bodies. And found an apiary that has an established colony that's in 2 mediums with a honey super on top. That's completely packed, healthy, and thriving. And they're willing to hold on to that until... In the video I said till after frost, and what I meant was until after our last frost. So in spring, they've basically earmarked that that's our hive, and then in spring we can go and pick that up from them. So that's about a 2.5 hour drive away from here, but we have it lined up. So,
yes.
So we're not going to go without bees. We're going to have bees again next season. It's really just a matter of, can we keep the ones we've got, or will we only have the new ones? So.
What are the options of buying a new queen?
I wouldn't do it. There are so few bees left in this colony that I think all I would be doing is wasting my money.
Yeah.
Now I could buy another package. I could buy a package of bees with a queen, and repopulate the nuke that way.
But not until next spring.
Yeah, but not until next spring. So, yep.
All right.
Okay, I think that catches us up with everything that was on YouTube last week.
Sounds good. Where did you take your permaculture course certification?
I took it online through Jeff Lawton. That's the easiest way to say it. If you're interested in taking one of his courses, I think it's just jefflawton.com. Back when I took it, it was just a dollar or two under $1,000 for the course. So I mean, it's not cheap.
When are you going to start teaching classes?
Probably never.
Why not? You're certified to do it.
I am certified to do it, but and
anyone else hear those bus wheels?
Well, the difficulty I have is that as I have gotten past permaculture, after having taken the course and trying to put some of it into practice and so on, my biggest concern is the community on a whole. There is a lot of negativity in the permaculture community, where, for example, I've taken one permaculture development course, designer course, and I took it online. Yeah, okay. I took it with the director of the Permaculture Research Institute. Okay, sounds like that ought to be pretty credible. But there are people out there that get really haughty-taughty about hoity-toity. That'd be hoity-toity about it, and they'll be like, "Oh no, you got to have like 3 permaculture design courses under your belt, and you need to take these other 6 courses before you ever start teaching things." And they get kind of nasty about it, and I really just don't have the interest in it, and I've
it's pretty sad, actually.
I have learned that if I were to teach a course, I certainly wouldn't be a Permaculture Research Institute instructor, because I don't think I could follow their exact books in good conscience. The books that they're using were developed by Bill Mollison, who passed away a month or two ago, back in the late 70s and early 80s, and have not been revised since. And I mean, in a world where you talk about, we redo textbooks for school and for all levels of school almost every single year, and we're talking about something where we're claiming that we can change the world with permaculture, but we're using textbooks from 30, 40 years ago, and it's time for, and because of that, I think, is why now permaculture has these 16 different arms sticking out of it, and there's no longer a set structure. Everybody has their own little spin on it, which then leads to even further contention. And so, I mean, would I ever teach courses? I love teaching courses. I would absolutely love to host and teach courses here at our homestead.
You're an awesome teacher, too.
Would I do it under the guise of doing a permaculture designer course and certifying people? Probably not. I just don't think that's the right thing for me right now. So, anyway. Did we ever answer the very first question?
We never did answer the first question.
Okay, so the very first question we had today was, what are the ages of your children? And I will get lost trying to remember this. I'll have to do math. I can remember the years they were born.
Are you guys ready?
Go ahead.
13, 11, 9, 6, and 4.5.
There you go. And a half. It's important when you're 4 to remember the and a half.
She'll be 5 in January.
Okay. So there you go. 5 kids. And yes, it was intentional. And yes, it was even intentional to have them
so close together.
So close together. Now, does that mean that we think that was the best decision? Not every day.
Not every day.
But it is nice to have siblings that are the same age, interested in the same things, to entertain each other.
At least once a week I get asked whether or not the 2 youngest ones are twins.
Yeah. Oh, they're connected at the hip.
You cannot take one without taking the other. You cannot do something with one without doing it with the other. Those two are just night and day.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Simply Circus had asked, where are you guys at? We are in Tumsuba, Mississippi, which is considered east central Mississippi. We're just about 10 miles from the Alabama border, so that's kind of how close we are to Alabama. We're right off the interstate called Interstate 20 or Interstate 59. Where we are, those two interstates are the same piece of road. So that's where we are. If you can look it up, it's TOOMSUBA, Mississippi. You can go to janjacres.net and look it up, and there's a map, and you can zoom in and see my property from satellite if you like. So,
It was updated last winter, I think.
It was. How are the pigs? The pigs are doing well. We haven't sold enough of them yet.
Anyone want to buy some pigs? Come get them. They're almost ready to go. They're almost weaned.
Yep, we've had 3 of them spoken for. That leaves 5 that still need to be purchased. And just in case you were paying attention to that number, yes, that means we did lose one. There was a run to the litter, and it's gone. But we got 5 more. 5 piglets we're still trying to sell. The second sow has still not given birth and still looks like she should. So I don't know.
They want to know what my fidget is. Can you tell them about my fidget? Because it was a Christmas gift.
I don't know what website I found it on, but I was looking for fun and unique things to get Jennifer. And at one point, Jennifer worked in this office from home, working for a customer support kind of company. And she always wanted to fiddle with something. She would be in here and bored to tears, waiting for a call or on the 100th call for the same thing that day or whatever else, and wanted to give her something to fidget with. And so this is just one of the toys that she got, and it's, I don't know, the spheres are connected in one spot with each other. But you can arrange it in so many different ways, make 3D shapes out of it, and all sorts of different things. And of course, it's rainbow colored, so you can not only do it in different shapes, but do it in different orders and make a lot of fun things out of it. So, but
they've been watching me play with it for the past 45 minutes.
All right. Let's see here. Another question, if not permaculture, what else are you passionate about now? Really, I'm just passionate about being on my property and doing things. I mean, I think when... I don't know the right way to say this. Sometimes when you get into a methodology, and permaculture will teach you that permaculture is not a methodology, that you can use many different so-called methods and use it in a permaculture designed site. I think I understand what you mean about, like, being passionate about something. Really, the only thing I'm passionate about is this lady right here, my property and being home and being with my children. But
whenever I say I'm into something, he makes sure it gets done.
Yeah.
Half the projects on the property are because I said I want.
But I've never been a flag-waving, banner-toting kind of person to sit there and say, let's change the world through permaculture and be the spokesperson or be the poster child or try to get a whole bunch of other people to sign on board with it. I mean...
I'll tell you what you're passionate about. You absolutely love this YouTube channel.
Well, I do, and I like the YouTube channel for a couple different reasons. I like it because we meet people like you guys. I mean, some people that I've met that first just stumbled across our YouTube channel have been to and worked on our farm. Just fun little things like that, you know.
It's great to meet people that are like-minded.
Had opportunities put in front of me where I was able to go and teach a conference up in Indianapolis. I ain't never been to Indianapolis. It's just crazy
And
stuff.
South Carolina.
In South Carolina, been to South Carolina. But like going to that conference in Indianapolis, you know, we get the word out on YouTube, and then people that watch on YouTube come and meet you in person. You get to shake their hand and really realize that it's not just I went out to the garden today and happened to put it on video and put it on YouTube, and for some reason people watched it. It's the realization that people are trying to make a conscious change in their lives, and they want to know how you did something so that they can do it too, and realize that you're actually doing something that impacts people.
Or you happen to be walking through a farmer's market somewhere that's not even your own town, and all of a sudden someone goes, "Hey, J&J Acres!"
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. We were. Now, that can happen.
It has happened.
The one that came to my mind when you said that was we went to a local rodeo, which was just 2 miles up the road from us. But this is a rodeo that people come from around the region to go to. It's the Ralph Morgan Rodeo, if you want to look it up. Ralph Morgan Rodeo.
Yeah.
And we were there, big crowd of people. Everybody's trying to fight through the concession stand lines and get to the seats and whatever else. And somebody says, "Hey, are you from J&J Acres?" And just, yeah, hey, nice to meet you.
We weren't even wearing our own gear.
Yeah.
But they just happened to recognize Jared out of the crowd.
We're just there in the crowd. But anyway, just fun stuff like that. And the second reason is because at some point I would like to retire and come home. Now, whether that means that I can do that in 5 or 10 years or 20 years, I don't know. But YouTube does provide some level of an income, and I see it as a way of, once I don't receive a paycheck every 2 weeks, that I can still make sure that income is coming in, even if all I'm using it for is to buy feed and pay property taxes, because everything else we're getting off our property. I don't know. But that's another reason I'm passionate about it, because I am a long-term planner kind of person, and I want to make sure that I can support myself, my wife, and our children for as long as I need to. So I see it being that as well. And I think that I've had a lot of friends on YouTube. I've lost a lot more friends than are still around on YouTube, meaning there's a lot of people who I knew with similar channels who decided to stop making videos at some point. And I think one of the things that's really helped us get our channel to we're almost at 21,000 subscribers is because I've got that long-term vision for it. I don't want to be the next big internet sensation and make $1 million next month. I want to make my couple $100 every month and make it forever.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Exactly.
They've actually proven that.
Yeah, really?
Saw a video the other day, live tortoise in the hair video, where they actually raced a tortoise and a rabbit.
Oh, I saw that video. That was hilarious.
And the rabbit raced ahead of the turtle, got halfway through the race, and stopped.
Yeah.
And the turtle won the race.
All right, so we've got about 5 minutes here. We're going to wrap this up really quick. What projects do we have coming up? I need to get some new grow areas in the back of the property, on the back of the house rather. I think I want to do most of our kitchen garden type of growing in raised beds next year, and use the big field that we were growing in to just grow actual field crops. Have a patch of corn with some pumpkins or something like that in it, and not try to do 50-foot rows of lettuce or radishes or whatever else.
Don't worry, he'll end up with tomatoes. They're growing wild now.
Oh yeah, tomatoes are everywhere. I mean, and heaven knows what else. We talked about that last week too, that there's some kind of a curcubit growing out where the pigs used to be, and I'm still just letting it grow. I still don't think it'll even flower, but it's just kind of fun. I mean, why not? Let it grow.
Let it go.
Yeah, stop. And perhaps the last question here, what percentage of your food do you currently source from your land? I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. Right now, we're sourcing all about 100% of our meat from our land because we have a freezer full of pig right now. And
right now, we are eating pig every single night, just about.
And then, of course, with the hunting, we'll refill the freezer with that and all that kind of good stuff.
He tastes good, too.
But what we don't have right now is a long-term storage plan for our fruits and vegetables. So that's something we need to get better at. So like right now, when hardly anything is growing, we go to the grocery store, plain and simple. But when we have a big harvest, we eat 100% off the property, and then because we haven't been storing things away, once we eat through it, we got to go back to the grocery store while we're waiting for the next crop to come in. So there's two things here we need to do better. We need to sequentially plant better, so I get harvests over a longer period of time. For example, we brought in, I forget, you'd have to go look for a video called Final Harvest, and we harvested a lot of carrots, and we did our best to eat through them as quick as we could because we don't have a canner. We could have canned those and still been eating on them now. But anyway, Jennifer's wanted a canner for as long as we've been at this property. So anyway, we do have a good dehydrator now, an Excalibur dehydrator, so that's another thing we're looking to do to preserve food. And then, like I said, just again, the sequential planting. We want to, rather than plant all the carrots at one time, plant them 2 weeks apart or whatever we can, and bring in the harvest over time rather than all at once.
And then finally, he needs to actually get his wife to eat more vegetables.
Well, see, I don't call you out on live video though, but there may be some difficulty with certain members of the household eating their leafy greens and their crunchy veggies.
Spare time, we have almost 7 acres, but we farm probably about 2 of them, and the other 5 are still wild.
All right. Okay, folks, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Make sure we don't go overtime. Thank you all so much for being with us today. If you're interested in supporting us and want to see some Secret Squirrel videos, head over to patreon.com/JandJAcres, and you can subscribe to us there and get some different videos that you don't see unless you're subscribed there. Otherwise, I think that's it. You got anything else? Okay. Thank you all so much for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Let's try that again. If you have... Oh, gosh, I'm going to ruin it. Y'all just stay right there for a second. I feel like I just took in a big old whiff of pollen.
Probably did.
Remember, we're part of the HomesteadNetwork.com, so if you want to watch more videos like this or see who would come up next when we get somebody to follow us, head to the HomesteadNetwork.com and learn all about it. So, thank you all so much for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.